Hi guys, welcome back to Adventurous Ukuleles. I wanted to have a look at some rhythmic playing on the ukulele. Now, ukuleles are famous for playing chords and relatively well known for playing melodies. And some people know that they can play rhythm as well, or even more like a drum kit. But combining them together is one of the magic parts of guitars and ukuleles. You can play melodically and rhythmically and harmonically with chords at the same time. And today we're going to be looking at combining the harmonic part, the chords, with the rhythmic part, which is normally associated with the right hand strumming. So the little riff that I opened with was an example of muting some of the strings as you're playing and allowing this percussive noise to come through, and then the harmony then is brought back in by holding the chord down. But normally, of course, when I'm not holding a chord down and I strum the strings, I get the open strings ringing out. So I need to be able to mute the sound of the strings. So this is a little exercise for you, but it does require the use of four-fingered chords or bar chords. So it is a little bit adventurous, hence Adventurous Ukuleles. We're very familiar with open chords on the ukulele. A minor, C, F, even G. All of those chords use at least one open string, a string with no fingers being played. No fingers pressing down on any of the frets. The bar chords and the four-fingered chords, though, such as, you may know, D7, uses all four strings in a fretted position, so there's no open strings. A lot of people don't like these chords because they're slightly harder to play. They require more effort from your left hand in particular. What other ones do we know? There's an E7 up here. That's a four-fingered chord. A lot of the sparkly chords that I've introduced in some of my early tutorials, so the G add 9, that's actually a four-string chord. None of those notes are open anymore. I use that quite often, not only because the G add 9 sounds quite nice, is a bit more interesting than a normal G chord, but also because it allows me to control the strings more. It's one of these four-string chords. And they are much easier to control the sound. Compare this with a G chord. If I let go with my left hand, you can still hear, I hope, one of the strings still ringing on. As soon as I let go of the fretted ones, they stop ringing, but that open G rings on. But now if I do the G add 9, I'm playing it with my thumb wrapped round, but you can also play it with four fingers or as a bar chord, completely up to you. Now listen what happens when I take my left hand away. Silence. It completely stops the sound. And I'm not even taking my fingers off the strings. I'm simply releasing the pressure. So I'm squeezing here with my thumb behind the neck. I'm squeezing down so that the strings touch the frets. And then when I release that pressure, they're now muting the strings. There's no way for that string to vibrate. It's being damped by my fingers. If you have a closer look at my left hand here, and particularly my thumb, you can see I'm squeezing and releasing. Squeeze, release. And this is the power of four-string chords, because we can stop the sound. There's the old joke about listening to jazz musicians is you've got to be listening to the notes he's not playing. And this is about the notes that you're not playing. Because if I can play a really fast rhythm with an open chord, but then if I play the same rhythm with a four-string chord that can be stopped, I can introduce all sorts of other rhythmic ideas in there. So same relationship between the chords here, but this time shifted up to be in a barred position. There's a lot more rhythmically going on there. It's the same relationship between the chords and the same right hand pattern, but there's a lot more information musically going on because of my left hand's ability to control when the strings stop sounding. So let's see if we can work up to doing something like that. You need to learn a few bar chords or four-fingered chords. But don't panic, you probably know the shapes already. They're all based around the open chords that we know. Let's start with an A minor chord. We normally play this with our second finger on the second fret of the G. That's the string nearest your head. But of course, if I want to play it as a four-fingered chord, I can use the same shape. The same shape is the same intervals between the strings. But if I say I want to play a B minor, that means just need to move every note of an A minor up by a tone or 2 frets, 2 semitones. That's easy enough with that note that I was fretting. I just shift it up by 2 frets. But then the notes that were open also need to be shifted up by 2 frets. So I'm going to have to fret those. I could use 3 fingers there. That's a bit of an awkward one. So easiest way, not that easy if you've not done it before, but easiest in the long run is to play all 4 notes with my first finger as a bar. Make sure your thumb is nice and firmly on the back of the neck so you can really squeeze like you're pinching the strings. And then I can use one of my other fingers, probably my third finger, to play that 2 frets above where that finger is barring. So that's the same shape as the A minor, which is here, but I've slid the whole thing up 2 frets by using that as the new nut. That's this white thing here. But now this finger is now the nut. And now we have a B minor. But it's the same shape as your A minor. So you can just think of it as an A minor shape, but barred on the second fret. But that means our other open chords can be used as well. Let's have a look at an F chord. Normally we play that with the first and second fingers, but with these bar chords, we often need our first finger for the bar. So play your F this time with your second and third fingers. Slide it up 2 frets and put that bar down again. Use your thumb right underneath that bar. Now we've got a G chord, believe it or not. Listen, there's a normal G and a bar G. Sounds exactly the same, but this one, I've lost control of one of the strings, whereas this one, full control over when the silences happen. So that is our F major shape, but barred on the second fret. What other shapes we've got? A C major chord, our old favourite. Third finger, third fret, string nearest the floor. That's 3 frets higher than the nut, but if we're going to move the nut up by 2, that also moves up, and this time I'm probably going to use my little finger. It's a bit of a stretch from the ring finger. You can do it though, but my little finger fits a bit more easily. Again, 3 frets above the new nut, which is my bar, and this gives us a D chord. In fact, many soprano ukulele players play the D like this normally because it's really difficult to get all 3 fingers squeezed into that fret place. There we go. So we've got our A minor shape, our F major shape, and our C major shape, but all shifted up by 2 frets, sorry. We could shift that up higher if you want. I mean, all of these notes, all of these chords can be shifted anywhere on the neck of the ukulele or the guitar for this matter. This all applies to the guitar as well. So it's a really useful technique, is learning these open shapes as a barred shape or as a 4-string shape, because then you can play any version. If you know an A minor chord, you can also play a B flat minor, a B minor, a C minor, a C sharp minor or a D flat minor, a D minor, just by moving that same shape around. So all of these chords can be moved anywhere, and learning where they are is a matter for another video, but we need to learn some of those shapes. Those are the 3 shapes we're going to be looking at today. The A minor shape, the F shape, and the C shape. So, if the bar is too difficult, then try harder. No, but it is a difficult technique. It's often the speed bump that most people fall or come a cropper on when they're learning a fretted instrument, is this barring technique. But it is easier on the ukulele than it is on the guitar. So you're already ahead there. Make sure your thumb is really behind that first finger and try and keep that first finger as straight as you can, particularly the first 2 knuckles. You can bend this last knuckle, but the straighter that is, the stronger that finger gets. Don't go too far over, because then all of your weight is on this part of your finger, and if you know the principle of levers, the most leverage, or leverage, depending which side of the Atlantic you're on, is on the tip of your finger. So have the tip extending just over that string nearest your head, and you'll get the maximum force down. You'll need to then arch the other fingers, whereas this one's straight, these fingers need to arch over the other strings. So that means this wrist needs to be quite low. It's not behind the ukulele, because that means you can't keep that finger very straight. So that wrist needs to be lower to get that finger straight, and then these fingers need to arch over. Make sure your knuckles are bending up that way and not flattened down like that. you'll be muting strings if you do that. There are loads of other four-fingered chords. We used a lot in the tutorial for All of Me, the jazz standard, because we wanted that control over those nice short chord stabs. You know, all of me, why not take all of me? There's an E7, then we had an A9, can't you see? I'm nothing without you. There's a D-7 there. So there's lots of these shapes around, and you can also use your thumb around there for some of them occasionally. For today though, I'm going to be using the bar shape. We'll look into the others another time perhaps. Now that we've got our shapes, we need to work on some rhythm and the squeezing business. So I'm going to start with the G chord, which is the F major shape, shifted up by 2 frets. And I'm going to hold that down with my left hand, and I'm going to strum it with my right. Easy enough. Hear the notes ringing on. But then release that pressure. Don't let your fingers leave the strings. You have a look there. Let's go nice and close. Is it going to focus on my hands? There we go. When I'm squeezing and I'm not squeezing, squeeze, not squeeze. You can see the muscles tense and relax. But my fingers don't actually lose contact with the strings at all. I'm still touching them all in exactly the same place as I am when I'm fretting them. So if you do that when you strum, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. And you can stop the sound very effectively. That's the technique there. Now you're going to be controlling the rhythm with your left hand rather than your right hand. So one strum there has 2 distinct sounds, a start and a stop, but those starts and stops are controlled by your left hand. So let's get a rhythm going with our right hand. Let's do a down, 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 down. Using the back of my fingernails. You could use your thumb, but thumbs are strong and not very flexible, whereas fingers are more nimble, and you've got three or four of them available to you, and they've got nails on the side that does the hardest work. So I'd recommend backs of fingers for strumming. And I'm just in my released position here. You can see there's no sound coming out. If I squeeze, I start getting sound. Release. Let's do 4 of each. Squeeze and release. Let's do 2 of each. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. Let's try 1 of each. You can see we've got quite a nice rhythm going on. We could speed it up a little bit. That's the basic idea of incorporating some of these rhythmic strums into our chord rhythm. Let's try some more interesting rhythms though. With our right hand, we've just been doing downstrokes up till now. Let's put some upstrokes in. Whenever you're doing a rhythm that's all downstrokes, you've always got a spare doubling available. You can just put the upstrokes in on the way back up past to get ready for the next downstroke. So if we're doing downstrokes like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, we can easily add in the upstrokes in between those, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notice that my hand didn't change speed or didn't really change anything. It just made contact with the strings on the way up as well as on the way down. So the downstroke's using the back of my nails, and the upstroke is using the fleshy part of my fingers. It's a different sound and a different kind of feeling as you play it. But let's get that down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And let's do some squeezing. And release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. Let's do 2 of them. Squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. Let's just do the downs. Now for the first tricky bit, we're going to do some downs and some ups and then switch to just the ups. This is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. Your brain starts to wobble a bit here, but give it a go. It might be easier than you think. Let's just try all the downs and the ups and then switch to just the ups. So we're going to go down, up, 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 down, up. So we've done all the downs before. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now we're doing a down, up, release, squeeze, release, squeeze. So you're squeezing your left hand when you want the note to sound. It's that simple, but it's a little bit trickier in practice, particularly when you start getting some faster tempos. I'm moving quite quickly through this, so you might want to stop the video, pause, have a practice. Let's change chords, because that chord's sounding a bit boring. Let's go to the C chord. The the C shape rather, is actually a D chord. Exactly the same thing works here. We get a rhythm going with the right hand with a muted position down. I'm doing a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a rhythm here. Down, up, 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 down, up. That's my whole bar. And let's do a whole bar of that with no chords at all. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a... Let's do the chords. 1E and a 2E, 3E and a 4E and a release. And a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E. Let's do half the bar. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a... Let's do quarter bar. So one beat each. Let's do half a beat. Could do one semi-quaver. We're doing it on the ups. And suddenly we've got a ska rhythm going on. Sort of like reggae but with trumpets, if you don't know what ska is. Great stuff, check it out. The Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, one of my favourite ska bands. Probably the only ska band I know, so tell me some more in the comments. You can get very effective rhythms very quickly using this technique. And it's very common in reggae music to emphasise those upstrokes. Now that intro that I played at the beginning is what I'm working up to. So let's have a look at how I played that. I actually played it in C minor, so a fret higher that I've been demonstrating. I'm going to get a constant rhythm going with my right hand. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Make sure your fingers are nice and relaxed. Allow them to stroke the strings rather than really grind over them. They want to be firm but not too stiff, so that the strings, when you're strumming, the strings actually kind of push your fingers out of the way rather than your finger pushing the string out of the way. Same when you're coming back up. Allow your finger to brush over the strings. It needs to be firm, like a stiff paintbrush. When you paint the wall, the paintbrush doesn't remain straight, it bends with the stroke you're doing. So allow your finger to bend down and then up, down. I'm actually changing the way my fingers are pointing. They're pointing slightly curled on the downstroke and they're a bit straighter on the upstroke. So I'm doing this kind of stroking motion with my hand. To get that smooth takes a bit of practice, but it will come. So I'm on the bar with my 3rd fret on an A minor chord, and I'm going to get a fast semi-quaver, or 16th note if you're American, pattern here. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... So I'm just picking a rhythm at random really. I'm just squeezing whenever it feels like I want a note to come through. I have to try and work out what I'm playing there. Dagga, dagga, da, 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 da. Down, up, down, up, down, up, 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 down. And I'm saying down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, like I'm missing out the downs, but I'm not. I'm still playing them. I'm still actually touching the strings. I'm just releasing my left hand when I'm not saying a down or an up. Down, up, down, up, down, up, 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 down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, 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 down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, 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 down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, 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 down. Now let's change chord. Let's move to the F position. Just drop this 2nd finger down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down. And then let's go to the C shape. Down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Now we've exhausted all our 3 shapes here, but we still need another chord to make the pattern complete. Let's use the F shape again, but 2 frets higher. This is our 4-chord trick. This is chord number, let me see, get this right here. We've got chord number 6 and then 1 and 6 and then 4 and then 1. This is chord number 5 if we're in this key. You see, I don't even know which key I'm in because all I'm using are the shapes. I know that that's my minor chord, number 6. That's my major chord, number 4. That's my 1 chord, my major chord for the root. And then this is chord number 5. And then go back to the minor chord. Right, put them all together and you get this. Down, up, down, up, down. Oh, sorry. Let's do 1 bar of each. Down, up, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down. Down, up, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down. Down, up, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down. Down, up, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down. The main thing I want to focus on today is this right hand pattern being absolutely constant. Digga, 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 whether or not the strings are muted. And then the left hand controlling the rhythm. Just one instrument doing percussion and harmony with rhythm on top of it. You can go really fast with this. How fast can we go? Yeah. Or put a swing in your rhythm instead of going down, up, 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 down. Delay the up slightly. Put a bit of a shuffle. This is the swing kind of rhythm. We've lengthened the first half of the beat and shortened the second half. So it's still 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but the and is now shifted towards the second half of the beat. And we get this. So all I'm doing there, I didn't know in advance what rhythm I was going to play. Just keep that right hand going constantly, always connecting with the strings both up and down, but then mute the strings by unsqueezing the left hand and then squeezing the left hand when you want a note to come out. So that is a video on playing percussion and harmony on the ukulele. I hope you enjoyed, and I should say, if you like these videos, do click the like button. And if you want to see more like them, then click the subscribe button as well. And if you want them to carry on, then do have a look at the links in the video description where you can support me via Patreon or PayPal. Enough said. Thanks guys. See you soon.